In this video, I'll be explaining about adjectives and adjectivals and their differences. What is their function? I will also explain the types of adjectivals with examples and help you to clear your doubts on the topic. Welcome. I'm Seema from Edufinite. Without much ado, let's delve into the topic. And if you have any queries, you can ask me in the comment section. What is an adjectival? An adjectival in a sentence can be a single word, a phrase, or a clause that performs the function of an adjective. That is, it modifies or tells more about a noun or a pronoun of that sentence by providing relevant information about its quality, quantity, size, shape, color, duration, feelings, personal characteristics, etc. So, adjectivals perform the function of an adjective. So, whichever clause or whichever phrase performs the function of an adjective, that means it modifies a noun or a pronoun of that particular sentence, then it is an adjectival. Now, when an adjectival is a single word, then it is an adjective. So, all adjectives are adjectivals. When an adjective is a phrase, phrase means what? It means two or more words. So, then it can be an adjective phrase, or it can be a prepositional phrase, or it can be an participial phrase, or even an infinitive phrase. Why? Because all these phrases, when they perform the task of an adjective, that means they tell us more about a noun or a pronoun of that sentence, then they are the adjectivals. When an adjective is a clause, this clause is always a dependent clause. That means the adjectival clause on its own will never be able to give you the complete idea. So it will have to depend on another clause to give you the whole idea or the complete idea of what the sentence is trying to tell you. Okay. If the adjectival is a clause, then it is called an adjective clause. The adjective clauses always begin with relative pronouns. That means words like that, which, who, whom, whose, or it may also begin with relative adverbs like when, where, why. Just because they begin with relative pronouns or relative adverbs, sometimes they are also called relative clauses. Okay, now let's move on to see what is an adjective. Well, I know you've done this right from your childhood, but still, since it is within the periphery of adjectivals, we'll do a brief study on it. So, an adjective is a part of speech and is a single word in a sentence that describes or modifies a noun or a pronoun. Now, a sentence can have one or more than one adjective for the same noun or pronoun. Now, this sentence, the girl is beautiful. So here, girl is the noun and the quality of girl, like how is she? She is beautiful. So, beautiful tells us more about the noun girl. Hence, beautiful is an adjective. Next, she is tall and beautiful. So, the pronoun she is modified by tall and beautiful because these two are the attributes of this pronoun she. They're telling us more about she. How is she to look at? She is tall as well as beautiful. So here we see we have more than one adjective for the same pronoun she. Now an adjective is placed either before a noun or a pronoun or after the stative verb that expresses the state of being. So let's look into the sentences to understand it a little better. I have a black car. Now here, black is telling us more about the noun car. So black is the adjective, and where is it placed? It's placed before the noun. So black is an attribute adjective. So when an adjective comes before a noun, we call it attribute adjectives because they tell us the attribute about the noun. Next, the second one is my car is black. So both mean the same, but the position of the adjective black is now after the stative verb is. So it's telling us how my car is. My car is black. So it's black in color. So black is modifying car, hence it is an adjective. Now, this type of adjective that comes after the stative verb is also called predicative adjective. Now, you have to note one thing. Both the attribute adjective and the predicative adjectives are descriptive adjectives. Okay, now let's look into the other categories. The different types of limiting adjectives. Why limiting adjectives? Because these adjectives limits the noun being described. That means they give a limited description of the noun, and they are as articles. We know the articles, the definite article the and the indefinite articles a and an. So these articles are always placed before a noun. So they tell us whether that noun is something particular. Article the, when it's placed before a noun, that's been pinpointed. But if we use indefinite articles like a and an before a noun, then that is not particularized. For example, in this sentence, the kid loves to eat an apple and a banana every day. So the kid, the is the adjective because this is a definite article and it's placed before the kid and it's telling us, pointing us to a particular kid. So that's the adjective. And this is the definite article, and hence the kid is being particularized. But again, an apple, any apple. Here there is no particularization, any apple, a banana, so any banana. So an is telling us more about the apple, any apple, and a is telling us more about the banana. That means any banana. So these two are also adjectives. Next we come to demonstrative adjectives. Well, demonstrative adjectives are words like this, that, these, those. Now look at this sentence. This pen and these books are new, but that pen and those books are old. So this pen, that means we are telling about a pen which we are pinpointing, which is very near to us, this pen, and these books. So the books that are near to us, these books are new. So this and these, as they are telling us more about the noun pen and books respectively, so they both are demonstrative adjectives. Next, that pen and those books. Here too, that is modifying the noun pen and those is modifying the noun books. So that and those are also demonstrative adjective. But we'll have to keep one thing in mind over here. Because we have demonstrative pronouns too, this, that, these, those as demonstrative pronouns. So the difference between the two is when it is used as demonstrative adjective, it will have a noun beside it. But when it will be used as a demonstrative pronoun, it will not have any noun beside it. For example, when I'm saying these pen are new, I'm showing the pens and I'm saying these pens are new. But again, I can say these are new. Omit pen because you're already seeing this is a pen. So when I'm just using these are new without any noun beside these, then these at that time becomes the demonstrative pronoun. Next, we have distributive adjectives. Well, distributive adjectives are words like any, each, every, either, neither, etc. Now let's look into this sentence. Every student will take part in any competition of their choice. So every student, every is modifying student, which is a noun, and any is modifying competition. Again, competition is a noun. So every and any, both are distributive adjectives. Now, again, since we also have distributive pronouns, and these words, whichever we have said, each, every, either, neither, they also play the role of distributive pronoun. Again, the difference is when they are playing the role of an adjective, they'll have a noun beside them. And when they'll be playing the role of an distributive pronoun, they will not have any noun beside them. For example, don't worry, we'll give each a copy of the syllabus. That means when the teacher is saying so to the students, that means she's addressing the students and she's telling them that each of you will get. So she can just say each will get a copy of the syllabus. So here, each is not accompanied by a noun or each is not followed by a noun. As each is not followed by a noun, so here each plays the role of distributive pronoun. Next we have indefinite adjectives. So words like few, many, much, every, all, several, some, these are all indefinite adjectives. So let's look into the sentence. I have many biscuits, but some chocolates left. So I've taken these maybe to a picnic or something. So people have, eaten a lot of chocolates, but no one was much interested in the biscuits. So I have many biscuits, but some chocolates left. So many is qualifying the noun biscuit. So many is an adjective. It's an indefinite adjective. And some is also qualifying chocolate. So that is also an indefinite adjective. Next, we have interrogative adjectives. Well, words like what, which, whose, these are used in interrogative adjectives. Let's look into a sentence. Which phone is yours? So I'm picking up many phones. Maybe I've got 5 or 6 phones. Before going to the exam, the students have, kept them on my table. And then when someone approaches, I don't know which is her phone. So I asked her, which phone is yours? So here, which phone is yours, when I ask, which is modifying the noun phone, hence which is an interrogative adjective. But if I ask, showing the phones on the table, and I say which is yours, then which is not followed by a noun. In that case, which will play the role of an interrogative pronoun. So you have to keep this in mind. Whenever there is a noun beside it, then it's an adjective. If it's not, then that's the pronoun. Well, next we have possessive adjectives. So possessive adjectives shows possession, and they are words like my, your, his, her, their, it, our, etc. So the sentence, we have completed our project. Whose project? Our project. So project is a noun, our is telling us about the project, whose project, our project, so our is the possessive adjective. Again, we have possessive pronouns. So if we say we have completed ours, like we all are supposed to complete the project, and we raise a hand and say we have completed ours, so then ours becomes the possessive pronoun. It's no more a possessive adjective. The next one is proper adjectives. Yes. So what are proper adjectives? Well, they're derived from proper names, and so the proper adjectives always begin with capital letters, irrespective of wherever they are placed in a sentence, just like proper nouns. So let's look into this sentence. When we visit Africa, we would love to experience the Great African Safari. Yes. So when we visit Africa, then Africa, of course, is the name of a continent. So Africa over here is the noun, and African, derived from Africa, is playing the role of proper adjective because we have safari, which is a noun. So which safari? African safari. So African, the word African is telling us more about the noun safari, hence that is an adjective. And since that is derived from the proper noun Africa, so that is the proper adjective, and it begins with the capital letter. The next sentence, English language is used worldwide for communication. So again, English language. So English is qualifying the language. Which language? English language. So English is an adjective over here. Quantitative adjectives. Well, quantitative adjectives gives us the idea of the quantity. So it might give us a concrete idea of the quantity with the number specific 1, 2, 3, 4 or 4th, 15th, or it will give us the idea of the amount like sufficient, whole, much, enough, etc. So the sentence, they have sufficient ration to last for 3 months. So the first one, sufficient, which is modifying the noun ration, is giving us the idea of amount. Sufficient means yes, that's ample, but it's not giving concrete amount. But the next one, 3 months. So 3 is modifying the noun months, and that's a concrete number, 3 months. We know exactly how many months. So these two, sufficient and 3, are quantitative adjectives. Next we come to phrase. What is an adjectival phrase? Okay, an adjectival phrase in a sentence is a small group of words, that means 2 or more words. The main criteria, because it is a phrase, is it will not have a subject or a finite verb and can be centered around, that means its head word can be an adjective, so it will be then an adjective phrase, or it can be a participial phrase or a prepositional phrase or an infinitive phrase. All these phrases, what will they do? They'll function like an adjective. That means they'll perform the function of an adjective. That means they'll describe or modify a noun or a pronoun in a sentence. So here, he finally gave up his old car. Now, old is a single word and it's describing the car. So this old is an adjective. Now we will replace it with a phrase, adjectival phrase. He finally gave up his old, slow, fuel-guzzling car. So these 3 attributes, old, slow, and fuel-guzzling, are all adjectives. So this is an adjective phrase. Next we have, look at that man. So that man, that is the adjective qualifying the noun man. Now let's replace it with a phrase. Look at the man sitting on the sofa. So which man? The man who is sitting on the sofa. So sitting on the sofa is telling us or is modifying the noun man. So this is an adjectival phrase, but this begins with sitting, which is the present participle. So this is a present participle phrase, participial phrase. So since this is a participial phrase, but it plays the role of an adjective, that means it is modifying the noun man. So this is an adjectival. Now I think you've understood that all adjectivals can never be an adjective, but adjectives are adjectives. The next sentence. The woolen clothes are quite dry now. So the woolen is modifying the noun clothes. So this is an adjective. Now let's replace it with a phrase. The clothes washed by the machine are quite dry. So washed by the machine, again, it's not an adjective phrase. This is a past participle phrase. Now what is it doing? It is modifying the noun clothes. Hence it's functioning as an adjective. This is an adjectival phrase. Now I think it's clear to you why are all adjectival phrases not an adjective, but an adjective is an adjectival. Because adjectival, the word itself focuses on the function of an adjective. So in spite of these phrases not being adjective phrases, but still they are functioning like an adjective phrase. That means they are modifying the noun. So they are all adjectivals. Let's look into a few more sentences. The blue picture looks stunning. So here the word blue is telling us more about the noun picture. So that's an adjective. Now let's replace it with a phrase. So the picture on the wall looks stunning. So on the wall is a prepositional phrase because it begins with a preposition and it's telling us more about the picture. Which picture? The picture on the wall. So this is an adjectival phrase. Next we have English is popular. So popular is telling us about the noun English. Now we replace that with a phrase. The most popular language to communicate worldwide is English. So here, to communicate worldwide is a phrase which is telling us about the noun language. Hence, this is an adjectival phrase and it begins with to. So this is an infinitive phrase. So this is also an adjectival phrase. Now we come to clause. What is an adjectival clause? An adjectival clause in a sentence is a dependent clause. As I mentioned earlier, they will not be able to give you the whole idea on their own. And since it's a clause, it will have a subject and a finite verb. And adjectival clauses always begin with a relative pronoun like that, which, who, whom, whose, etc. Or a relative adverb like when, where, why. And these two, that means either the relative pronoun or the relative adverb with which it begins, actually that connects the clause to the noun or the pronoun it modifies. Now, the relative pronoun shows the relationship between the clause and the antecedents. Now, let's look into some of the sentences. This is the house which we will buy. Which house? The one that we will buy. So, which we will buy is the adjectival clause and it begins with the relative pronoun which. And it is a restrictive clause. That means the clauses which are essential for the meaning of the sentence, to understand the meaning of the sentence, you just cannot leave it out. In that case, that clause is a restrictive clause. Okay, the next sentence is, students who work hard will do well in life. Again, who work hard is telling us about the students. The section of students who will work hard. So, who will work hard is an adjectival clause and it begins with the relative pronoun who and it is a restrictive clause. Why? Because if we say students will do well in life, but we are not meaning exactly what we are trying to say with students who work hard will do well in life. That means if we say students will do well in life, that means we'll mean all the students, but it's not so. We are pinpointing only those students who will work hard. They will only do well in life. So we need that clause in that sentence to give the full meaning. So that's a restrictive clause. The next one. This singer whom we all admire finally launched his solo album. In this sentence, whom we all admire is the adjectival clause which tells us about the singer. Which singer? Whom we all admire. But since this is also associated with singer, so if we leave out whom we all admire, it will still make sense. For example, if we just say, this singer finally launched his solo album. So it will mean this singer. Which singer? The singer whom we all admire. But whom we all admire is a little extra information which is not absolutely essential for that sentence, because leaving that out also the sentence makes complete sense. So this type of clause, this type of adjectival clause, which, if left out still makes sense, then they are called non-restrictive clause. So here also we see this whom we all admire is an adjectival clause because it begins with the relative pronoun whom and it, modifies the noun singer. Okay. Now, let's sum up the adjectival. So we know adjectival provide us relevant information about the quality, quantity, size, shape, color, duration, feelings, personal attributes or characteristics, etc. of the noun or the pronoun they modify. And so let's look into some examples to understand them easily. So the first sentence, the famous artist will receive the national award next week. Here, famous is the adjective. An artist is a noun which famous is modifying. Which artist? Famous artist. So famous is adjective. Now let's replace it with a phrase. The artist admired by all will receive the national award next week. So you see, famous artist, it's a very common thing. But if we replace that with a phrase, adjectival phrase, admired by all, you know, that enhances our sentence a lot. So the artist admired by all will receive the national award next week. Next, let's change this into a clause. The famous artist whom we all admire will receive the national award next week. Now over here you see, since the word famous artist is already mentioned, so whom we all admire is not an integral part of the sentence, because if we say the famous artist will receive the national award next week, it still makes sense as we had done earlier. So this clause is a non-restrictive clause. The next sentence. The borrowed books must be returned tomorrow. So borrowed books. What books? Borrowed books. So borrowed is the adjective modifying the noun books. Now let's change this into a phrase. The books borrowed from library must be returned tomorrow. So we have elaborated it. So it enhances our sentence. Now let's replace this with a clause. The books that we borrowed from the library must be returned tomorrow. So a little more elaboration. With a clause, we elaborate more, but if we want to make it concise, we use phrases. And, you know, adjectives make it a very short sentence. Now this clause, that were borrowed from library, tells us about the noun books. It's modifying the noun which books that were borrowed from the library. So since this is, because the books must be returned tomorrow, if we say, it's not giving us the whole, idea, because the special books, which books that were borrowed from the library. So the books taken from the library are to be returned tomorrow. So this is a restrictive clause. The next one. Dirty shoes are not allowed inside. Yes, dirty shoes are not allowed inside. So dirty is telling us about the shoes. What type of shoes? Dirty shoes. So that's the adjective. Now let's replace it with a phrase. Shoes covered in dirt are not allowed inside. Now, this is a phrase. Covered in dirt. What are covered in dirt? Shoes. So those type of shoes are not allowed inside. So covered in dirt is a phrase. Now we can see this is a past participle phrase. Now let's have a different type of phrase. Shoes with dirt all over it. With dirt all over it. So this is also telling us about the shoes. This phrase is beginning with, which is a preposition. So this is a prepositional phrase. So this is qualifying the noun shoes. Hence this is an adjectival. Now let's replace it with a clause. Shoes that are covered in dirt are not allowed inside. So see, we have again elaborated it. So that are covered in dirt. That is the relative pronoun. This is an adjectival clause. Now, this is of course an integral part of the sentence, because if we say shoes are not allowed inside, then it won't make complete sense, because particular shoes that are covered in dirt. So it's integral part. So this is a restrictive clause. Next we have the lead girl in the choir is my sister. So which girl? Lead girl. So lead is telling us more about the noun girl. So lead is an adjective. Now let's replace it with a phrase and enhance the sentence. The girl leading the choir is my sister. So leading the choir, again we know this is a present participle phrase and it's qualifying the noun girl. So it's an adjectival. Next, let's replace it with a clause. The girl who is leading the choir is my sister. So who is leading the choir is a adjectival clause as it begins with the relative pronoun who, and it tells us more about the girl. Which girl? Who is leading the choir. So she is my sister. So this is an adjectival clause. But again, this is an integral part of the sentence. So this is a restrictive clause. So whenever you want to, infuse a lot of information into the noun of a sentence, then you use a clause. But if you, want to give some restricted, view about or attributes about the noun, then you use modifiers, and adjectives are of course single words. So it's a very, for advanced level, it doesn't work well. So if you want to enhance your writing skills, you have to focus on phrases and clauses. That's very important for you. So that's all for today. Hope the lesson was useful. Let me know your thoughts about it in the comments section. I'll be soon back with a new video. Till then, take care, stay safe, be happy.